Chiamaka's hand slammed against the bedroom door before Obinna could lock it. "Open this door, Obinna. I heard you on the phone. Who is Uzoma and what project is draining our account?" Silence answered her. Then the lock clicked and the door swung open so fast she stumbled forward into his chest. He caught her by the arms, his breath uneven, his eyes wide with something between panic and guilt. "Chiamaka, it's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is," she screamed, pulling away from him, tears already burning her eyes. 3 years, Obinna, 3 years of doctors, of prayers, of my mother asking me every Sunday when a grandchild is coming. And now money is disappearing from our account and you won't even look me in the eye. Her voice cracked on the last word, and for a moment neither of them moved. The ceiling fan groaned overhead. Somewhere outside, a hawker's bell rang faintly through the window. "I have never touched another woman," Obinna said, his voice low, almost begging. "Never. You have to believe that." "Then what am I supposed to believe?" She shot back, arms folded tight across her chest, as if holding herself together. "You disappear for hours, you whisper on the phone, you flinch every time I mention the bank statement. What do you want me to think, Obinna?" He reached for her hand. She snatched it back. "Don't touch me until you tell me the truth." "I will," he said, stepping closer anyway, his palm cupping her jaw with a gentleness that made her chest ache despite her anger. "I promise you, Chiamaka, just not tonight. I need more time." "Time for what? To hide more money? To hide another secret?" Before she could pull away again, his mouth found hers, desperate, pleading, the kind of kiss that begged for patience it hadn't earned. For one treacherous second, she melted into him, her fingers curling into his shirt, remembering every reason she had married this man. Then reality crashed back and she shoved him off. "No," she whispered, breathless, furious at her own body for betraying her. "You don't get to kiss me quiet. I am not a child, Obinna. I am your wife." If this kind of raw, real marriage drama is speaking to you already, drop a like right now and subscribe so you don't miss where this story goes, because trust me, it gets deeper than you think. She walked out of the room before he could see her cry. The next morning, Chiamaka stood in front of her classroom of 8-year-olds, clapping out a multiplication rhyme with a smile plastered so convincingly that none of the children noticed the hollow ache behind her eyes. She loved this, the noise, the small hands raised eagerly, the innocent chaos of 30 children who had no idea what heartbreak felt like yet. Teaching was the only place her mind ever found rest. "Auntie Chiamaka, why are your eyes red?" one of the girls on Ngozi asked bluntly, tilting her head. "Auntie didn't sleep well, my dear," Chiamaka answered, forcing a laugh. But her mind was miles away, replaying the withdrawal alert that had popped up on her phone 3 days ago, an amount large enough to make her stomach drop. She hadn't asked Obinna about it then. She had told herself it was nothing, that he would explain eventually. Now, the silence between them had grown teeth. At break time, she called her friend Ijeoma, stepping into the staff room and shutting the door. "He's hiding something," Chiamaka said, the moment Ijeoma picked up. Has he started seeing someone?" Ijeoma asked sharply, with concern. "I don't know. He swears he hasn't touched another woman. But then what is it, Ijeoma? What man hides money from his wife if it's nothing to be ashamed of?" "Listen to me," Chiamaka said firmly. "Don't let this silence turn into something bigger than it is. Ask him again. Follow him if you have to. But don't sit there assuming the worst while saying nothing. That's how marriages die quietly, Chiamaka, from assumptions nobody said out loud." Chiamaka pressed her palm against her forehead. "I asked him last night. He kissed me instead of answering." That man," Ijeoma sighed. "Kissing you to avoid the question, my dear. That's not romance. That's a man buying time." That evening, Obinna came home late again, his shirt dusty, his shoes coated in what looked like cement powder. Chiamaka watched him from the kitchen doorway as he tried to sneak past toward the bathroom. "Obinna?" He froze. "Where were you?" "Work ran late," he said, not turning around. "Your office doesn't have sand on the floor, Obinna. What work leaves a man looking like he's been at a construction site?" He turned slowly, and for the first time, she saw exhaustion etched so deep into his face that her anger faltered just slightly. Chiamaka, please, give me 1 more week. I will explain everything, I promise you. Just 1 more week. You said that last week, she said, her voice trembling. I am your wife, Obinna, not a stranger you owe explanations to on your own shadow. I deserve to know now. He crossed the room and pulled her into his arms before she could protest, holding her so tightly she could feel his heartbeat racing against her cheek. I know, he murmured into her hair. I know you deserve better than this. I'm not being unfaithful to you, Chiamaka. I swear on my father's grave, I am not cheating on you. His voice cracked on the word father, and something in his tone made her go still. So then what does your father have to do with any of this? She asked slowly. His arms tightened around her, and he pressed a kiss to her forehead, then her cheek, then finally her lips, soft this time, not desperate, but heavy with something unspoken. Please, he whispered against her mouth. She let him hold her that night, but sleep never came, and somewhere close to midnight, she made a decision. If Obinna would not tell her the truth, she would find it herself. Don't go anywhere. Chiamaka finally follows him and discovers something that changes everything. Like this video now if you want to see how deep this secret goes. Saturday morning came, and Obinna left the house gaily, muttering something about checking on the site before disappearing into the harmattan haze outside. She waited exactly 10 minutes, grabbed her scarf and car keys, and followed him. She kept 2 cars behind his, her knuckles white on the steering wheel, her heart hammering with a mixture of dread and determination. He drove past the market, past the church they'd been married in, past the road that led to his office, and turned instead onto a dusty stretch of land at the edge of town she barely recognized. She parked a distance away and watched him climb out of his car. A half-finished building stood there, cement blocks stacked in uneven rows, iron rods jutting from an unfinished roof. Workers moved around with wheelbarrows and shovels, and there, standing beside Obinna with a clipboard in hand, was a middle-aged man in a dusty singlet, and beside him a woman, maybe in her 50s, gesturing animatedly at the structure. Chiamaka's stomach twisted. Who was she? What was this place? She stayed hidden behind the wheel, watching Obinna laugh at something the woman said, watching him place a hand briefly on her shoulder in what looked like gratitude. Every worst assumption Ijeoma had voiced came rushing back, hot and suffocating. Who are you? She whispered to herself, staring at her husband like he was a stranger wearing a familiar face. And what have you turned into? She didn't confront him there. She drove home shaking, her mind spinning through betrayal, through anger, through the terrifying thought that maybe her marriage had already ended and she was the last to know. That night, she couldn't hold it in any longer. I followed you, she blurted, the moment he walked through the door, before he'd even set down his bag. I saw the building, I saw the woman, I saw you laughing with her, like she means something to you. Obinna's face went pale. Chiamaka. Don't, she said, holding up a hand, her voice shaking violently now. Don't you dare lie to me again. I want the truth tonight, Obinna, or I swear I will pack my things and go to my mother's house before sunrise. You wouldn't leave, he said quietly, panic flooding his eyes. Try me, she snapped, though her voice broke on the words, tears spilling freely now. I have given you 3 years of silent pain, Obinna. 3 years of pretending I'm fine when my womb won't give us a child. 3 years of loving you through every disappointment. And this is what you do. You hide, you lie, you disappear to secret buildings with secret women, and you kiss me to shut me up whenever I ask questions. It's not a woman, Obinna shouted suddenly, his own voice cracking with desperation. God, Chiamaka, it was never a woman. That woman you saw, her name is Mama Nkechi. She supplies cement for the site. That is all she is to me. Then what is it? Chiamaka screamed back, her whole body trembling. What is worth destroying our marriage over, Obinna? What is worth all this silence? He staggered back like she'd struck him, and then slowly he sank onto the edge of the bed, his shoulders collapsing inward, his hands covering his face. When he looked up at her, his eyes were wet, his voice barely above a whisper. My father, he said. It's about my father.
Chiamaka froze, her chest heaving. Your father died 4 years ago, Obinna. What does he have to do with a construction site and disappearing money? Obinna reached under the bed and pulled out an old wooden box she had never seen before, his hands shaking as he opened it. Inside were yellowed papers, old architectural sketches, and a folded letter with handwriting she recognized instantly, Paikena's careful old-fashioned script. Before he died, Obinna said, his voice raw, my father made me promise something. He had been trying for years to build a vocational center for the boys in our hometown, boys like he used to be, with no skills, no direction, nothing to hold on to. He wanted to teach them carpentry, tailoring, mechanics, something to keep them from wasting away. He never finished it. He ran out of money, then he ran out of time. Chiamaka's hand rose slowly to cover her mouth. And on his deathbed, Obinna continued, tears now sliding freely down his face. He held my hand and made me swear I would finish what he started. I swore to him, Chiamaka. I swore on everything I had. And then I buried him, and life happened, and I kept telling myself I would start next year, until I couldn't lie to myself anymore. So all this time, Chiamaka whispered, the money, the secrecy, the disappearing, I have been building it, Obinna said, in silence, because I was ashamed, Chiamaka. Ashamed that I was spending our savings that should be going toward fertility treatment, toward our future children, on a promise to a dead man. I thought you would hate me. I thought you would see me as a failure, choosing my father's dream over our own family's need. So I said nothing, and every day the silence grew heavier until I didn't know how to open my mouth and let it out. The room was silent except for the sound of her own ragged breathing. Chiamaka stared at her husband, this man who had been carrying grief and guilt and a dead man's dream all alone, in silence, while she had assumed betrayal. Obinna, she said softly, her voice trembling now, not with anger, but with something else entirely. You should have told me. You should have let me carry this with you. If you've ever discovered that the person you love was hiding pain instead of hiding sin, comment below and let me know, because everything changes for Chiamaka and Obinna. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you catch every twist till the very end. Let me see it, Chiamaka whispered, reaching for the letter still trembling in Obinna's hands. He hesitated, then passed it to her.
She unfolded the fragile paper and read Paikena's words in silence, her lips moving slightly as she absorbed each line, a father's plea for his son to give young men what he never had, a chance, a skill, a reason not to give up. By the time she finished, her tears were falling onto the page. She believed in this so much, she said quietly. He believed in it more than he believed in his own comfort, Obinna answered. He died with cement dust still under his fingernails, Chiamaka, still trying. She looked up at him, really looked at him, seeing past the exhaustion and the guilt to the man underneath, a son trying desperately not to fail his father, a husband too afraid of disappointing his wife to ask for her partnership. Why didn't you trust me with this? She asked, her voice breaking. Did you think I would choose money over your father's legacy? Did you think I was that small? I thought you would think I was choosing him over you, over us, over the children we're still praying for. Obinna, she took his face in both hands, forcing him to look at her. I married a man with a father who dreamed big enough to want to save other people's sons. That is not a burden to hide from me. That is a burden to share with me. He broke then, pulling her into his arms, his whole body shaking with the release of months of secrecy. She held him, stroking the back of his neck, whispering that it was going to be all right, that they would finish this together. When he finally lifted his head, he kissed her, not desperate this time, not pleading, but slow and full of relief, a kiss that tasted like forgiveness.
She kissed him back just as fiercely, both of them finally exhaling months of held breath. The following week, Chiamaka insisted on visiting the site herself. Uzoma, the foreman, greeted her warmly, showing her around the half-finished structure with obvious pride. "Your husband has sacrificed plenty for this place, madam," as they walked past stacks of unused lumber. "You should see the boys who already come around just to watch us build. They dream of the day this place opens." She met a teenage boy sanding a wooden stool nearby, his hands moving with quiet focus. "This place go help me be better carpenter, better than the street." Chiamaka watched her husband's vision taking shape in wood and cement and hope, and something inside her shifted permanently. She was no longer angry, she was proud. That night, lying beside Obinna, she confessed her own silent wound. "You know I've been hiding pain too," she said softly into the darkness. "Every time your mother asks when we're having children, I smile and say, 'Soon, ma,' and then I go to the bathroom and cry where nobody can see me. I thought if I showed you my pain, it would break you further, so I hid it just like you hid yours." Obinna pulled her closer. "No more hiding," he said. "From now on, whatever we're carrying, we carry it together." "Together," she repeated, and sealed it with a kiss that lingered, warm and certain. They agreed to see a marriage counselor, not because their love was broken, but because they wanted to learn how to hold each other's truth without flinching. 2 months later, they sat in Obinna's mother's parlor as she once again brought up grandchildren, and for the first time, Chiamaka spoke without apology. "Mama, our worth as a couple is not only in children. We are building something that will outlive both of us, a center that will raise other people's sons like your father-in-law raised his. That is a legacy too." Obinna's mother went quiet, then reached for Chiamaka's hand, tears in her eyes. "Your father-in-law would be proud of you, ma," she whispered. 6 months later, the vocational center stood complete, freshly painted, a hand-carved signboard reading "Pa Ikena Skills Center" swinging gently at its gate. The community gathered for the opening, mothers, elders, young boys eager to learn trades, all clapping as Obinna cut the ribbon with tears streaming down his face and Chiamaka's hand held tightly in his. Amongst the crowd stood a quiet boy named Chidera, no older than 10, watching everything with wide, hopeful eyes. Uzoma later told them Chidera had been orphaned the year before and had been sleeping at the site some nights, drawn to the noise and warmth of people building something. Chiamaka knelt in front of him that afternoon, and something in his shy smile reached straight into the empty place in her heart that 3 years of waiting had never filled. She looked up at Obinna. He nodded before she even asked the question. By the time the Harmattan season rolled around again, Chidera's laughter filled their home every evening, his school books scattered across their dining table, his small hand always reaching for Chiamaka's doing evening prayers. Family, they had learnt, was never only about blood. Sometimes it arrived through an unfinished promise, a father's dream, and 2 people brave enough to stop hiding from each other. If this story touched you, don't just scroll past. Like this video, subscribe for more, and drop a comment below telling us where you are watching from tonight. Your marriage, your family, your story matters, and there is always room to build something new out of what almost broke you.